So quietly, LVMH, via a private equity firm, put a majority stake in everyone's favorite cult Japanese brand, Kapital, sending Japanese streetwear subreddit into a frenzy, Japanese fashion fans believing nothing is sacred, and me into a deep dive into what's actually happening. I'm Reggie Casual, and this is The State. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to The State, where we discuss, disseminate, and debate the fashion industry and the culture around it. LVMH, via a private equity firm, Catterton, has put a majority stake in Kapital. Coming off the heels of the late, great Toshikyo Hirata passing, this majority stake may at first seem like another big brand descending upon something sacred, but as always, let's pump the brakes a bit. Catterton seems to position its acquisition of Kapital as a strategic move to strengthen its financial foothold in Japan. Basically, that means don't expect Kapital to be flooding out west anytime soon. It is much more likely that the brand was acquired to have investments in Japan rather than to spread Japanese fashion around the world. Even though that would probably be a good thing in some aspects, but in others, maybe not. However, it does open the door for Kapital to be used as a brand to collaborate with brands under the LVMH banner. It's already happened once in 2013, and it's not like the brand is considered cult anymore. Let's be real. I suppose most are upset that this marks Kapital's release from the grip of known unknown, but let's take this slowly, because according to Highsnobiety, who first reported on this, it also didn't entirely come out of nowhere. Catterton appears to be angling its purchase of Kapital as part of a greater bid for financial inroads into Japan. Note, LVMH and Catterton don't own Kapital, end quotes. However, and it goes on to explain it later. Okay, so I've said this. In essence, basically what we're looking at is Kapital remaining autonomous, but it just goes to show that in business, there are just deals being made that we don't know, especially in fashion. There's a lot of conglomerate stuff happening in fashion, particularly in Japan. Now, many of you may not know, a lot of Japanese brands that you know, that you may feel are independent, that kind of operate independently, or they seem on the surface, are actually a part of larger group. That goes for Double Taps, Neighborhood, of course, you know, Bape does, but even some of the smaller ones that you don't know about. There's just a lot of conglomerate stuff happening in Asia. This is not abnormal. I believe people are reacting the way that they are is because it's Kapital, because it seems more cult-like, because it really is niche in its image. To buttress that point, Highsnobiety also mentions this. While peers like Visvim, speaking of Kapital, while peers like Visvim specialize in faithful workwear reproductions, Kapital operates more in the realm of blue-collar tinged whimsy. Playful enough to exist as a fashion brand, in quotes, but too serious about craft to be a mere fashion brand. This is the point that I think a lot of people are really into, really dissecting, especially those who are criticizing the move by another big brand gobbling up a smaller brand, in the sense that Kapital shouldn't be viewed as simply a fashion brand. There is an ethos around it, and by buying into it, it seems like you really don't understand what that ethos is as a big brand, particularly if you're a European or Western brand like LVMH, who gobbles up everybody and does whatever the hell that they want with it, whether they sell it or, you know, they keep it or whatever they do with it. So I think there is just this hesitation by I think the majority who are fans of Kapital, who are like, if LVMH gets involved in something like this, what ends up happening is you're gonna dilute the brand. Highsnobiety also mentions, now as we race towards Kapital's 30th anniversary in 2026, it's perhaps the best known Japanese workwear brand on the planet. In terms of crossover appeal, at least no contest. Kapital is simultaneously sold by workwear leaning retailers, progressive boutiques, and streetwear stores across the globe, reflective of its far-reaching seasonal collections. I have to go ahead and stop you on that, Highsnobiety, because I think the writer did mention this. It is notoriously hard for a Western retail shop to get Kapital in its stores. So the fact that we're saying Kapital is simultaneously sold by workwear-leaning retailers, progressive boutiques, and streetwear stores across the globe belies the fact that it's not at many stores and it's not that many pieces, right? So it's very, very difficult to get Kapital if you're living out west. And if you're living out west, you are paying an incredible premium on it. Western boutiques tend to glorify Kapital to the point where it has these luxury price ranges that just simply don't exist in the country where it's from. And that elevates its status as a brand because it seems like it's hard to get into. Also, that whimsy that we were talking about, that also adds to that Kapital cachet. I'm not saying that Kapital is not a great brand. I have a few Kapital pieces myself that we'll definitely review later. However, when we're talking about Kapital, we have to understand the position that it holds in Japan because there are many brands that do what Kapital does. The only difference is that Kapital is more well known, which is the reason why LVMH was really interested in it because of individuals that got involved in it early, particularly celebrities that let it be known that this brand actually exists. The Japanese market is so soft right now. It used to be, Japanese people are all about consumerism, but there's not a lot of trust in the Japanese economy right now for people who are citizens of Japan and those who live in Japan. So things like fashion brands, those who are making fashion brands, are having a very difficult time selling domestically. So they're looking out west. Sure, some of the mainstays like Beams, United Arrows, they can kind of weather the storm, but even they are looking out west, which is the reason why something like a Kapital getting investment from LVMH and saying, yeah, let's go with it, it's almost predictable. Because there's a lot of brands who are doing that. Now, my contention is why there wasn't a bigger Japanese brand to kind of bring Kapital under its wing. My first thought was, what happened to Comme des Garçons? Comme des Garçons is known for, helping out Japanese brands and saying, okay, we'll take you under, right? We got you, right? But I just don't see the reason why this didn't happen. So that's my only criticism, and that's the only thing that really piqued my interest in that regard. To be honest, I halfway expected Kapital to turn a bit different once Hirata Sr. passed. It's difficult to be a brand in Japan that has the aura of cult, but isn't. It really is. Because even though, and this might surprise you, people don't line up outside of the door every time Kapital drops a collection. That doesn't happen no matter how many people think that it does. Further, if this majority stake bothers you, do not let it. LVMH probably will let the brand maintain its autonomy indefinitely because had they wanted you to know, they would have been far more public about it. Now, my question is, what are your thoughts on LVMH silently putting that majority stake via a private equity firm into Kapital? Are you side-eyeing it, cautiously optimistic, or other? Are you just upset? Let your thoughts be known in the comments, but keep it respectful. Keep it casual. Also, join us on Patreon for extended unfiltered commentary on topics just like this one, as well as other benefits. Be sure to like, sub, and turn on notifications if you found this content valuable or entertaining to you. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion, culture, and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I'll see you guys in a minute.